Hello, I'm Anne Kerr. Welcome to my art studio. A little seascape, step by step, is what we're going to look at today. If you would like to have the line drawing for this to get you started, I'll put it up on my website and there'll be a link to that in the description below this video. So, are you ready? I've done a little pencil sketch and I've also marked the direction of the light to remind me in case I have to put any shadows in. Materials I'm using are my big wash brush, my 3/4 inch flat, the number 12 round, number 8 round and my little rigger. I've also got a piece of plastic card. I've just drawn a line for my horizon and that's the only drawing I'm going to do. The first thing to do is to wet the paper all the way down and then to wait about a minute for the initial shine to go off the paper before you start putting in any paint. Now in with some Pyrrol Scarlet mixed up with raw sienna. And a little raw sienna on its own. Now a little cobalt blue. And cobalt blue mixed with a little Pyrrol Scarlet. Now the same colours repeated at the bottom half of the picture, and this time try and keep the strokes horizontal. And then allow the painting to dry completely. Now that it's dry, in with a mix of cobalt blue and Pyrrol Scarlet for the distant hills. Just add a little bit of interest and texture to the distant hills. Now with the number 8 round, using the same colours, just stroke in a few marks to represent some distant trees. Again with the same colour and using the number 8 round, just put some marks at the base of the hills, just for interest. and with the rigger just pop in some tree trunks. Now with the flat brush, wet the area on the left-hand side of the painting and drop in the colours used in the sky. Notice when the raw sienna goes in over the blue, it instantly turned green, which is great. Drop in some blue and some burnt sienna. Add a little burnt umber and allow everything to mix on the wet paper. Now some Pyrrole Scarlet and some burnt umber mixed with ultramarine. And some nice punchy darks at the bottom of that little bit of land. Now with the corner of the plastic card, scrape in a few little stones and rocks. Using the number 8 round, can you notice the way I'm holding the brush and I'm just stroking the paint onto the paper? Not dabbing, but stroking. And I'm using a mix of raw sienna and Pyrrole Scarlet. And some burnt sienna. Now some burnt umber mixed with ultramarine blue. Notice I'm still using the side of the brush, not the point. Now a little Pyrrole Scarlet. And a little additional raw sienna. And then we'll leave that to dry off. Over to the other side now. Wet the area with a little bit of raw sienna. And in the same colours, burnt sienna. Now some burnt umber mixed with ultramarine blue for a nice dark area for the rocks. a little bit of burnt umber, allow all this to mix on the wet paper. Scrape in some highlights on the rocks. And add a little bit of Pyrrole Scarlet where the rocks are catching that beautiful evening red glow. Now with my big wash brush, I've got raw sienna and I've got a little bit of burnt sienna on one end of it. And now with a big sweep, we have a beach. Load up the brush again. And another big sweep. Load it up again for the third time. And there's our beach. Over to this side now, because the trees have now dried, and we'll put in all the little branches and twigs. Now with the number 8 round and some burnt umber mixed with ultramarine blue, put in the tree trunks. Change to the rigger brush if it's easier. Use the side of the number 8 brush to stroke in a little bit of vegetation at the base of the trees. And use the rigger brush to pop in some grasses. Wet the area on the left-hand side underneath the trees and drop in all the colours that were used above. Make sure your strokes go straight downwards, otherwise you end up with wonky water. And by the way, excuse me, wonky water is a technical term. Pop in some tree trunks. And take out a little bit of paint to represent the reflection of the rock. Now over to the right-hand side, using any of the dark colours that are on your palette and the flat brush, and just pop in a suggestion of some rocks on the beach. Then with the trusty plastic card again, scrape out some highlights. Add a few little rocks out into the water. And add a little bit of texture to the edge of the water where it meets the sand. Again, notice I'm using the side of the brush, not the tip. and a little bit of texture on the beach. A bit of vegetation at the back on the rocks. And now, with a mix of burnt umber and ultramarine, we'll put in the trees. This is my number 8 round. And then changing to the rigger brush, where the branches are going to get smaller and thinner. Always paint tree branches in the upward direction, in the direction that they grow. Now, using my number 8 brush, again using it on its side, I'm stroking in some suggestion of twigs on the end of the branches. Notice how I'm turning my brush so that all the marks are not going in the same direction. Add a little bit of darker paint, and the trees are done. Back to the other side of the painting, and we'll put in a rickety old fence. Finish it off with the rigger brush. But don't draw the little lines between the posts too perfectly. Make them look ragged and broken. Now, with the flat brush, again using all the colours on my palette, raw sienna, burnt sienna, making sure this paint is nice and concentrated. Some nice punchy darks. Now again, I'll be using the plastic card to scrape in the highlights on the rocks. This is why the paint needs to be quite thick, otherwise you wouldn't be able to scrape it. With a number 8 brush, just a little bit of texture, and a little bit of texture onto the beach as well. Add in a few grasses for interest. And with a flat brush that's only just damp, take out a little bit of paint to suggest some water lines. Now we'll take off the tapes and have a look and see what we've got. And there we have the finished painting. A beautiful little seascape bathed in the glow of the evening light. I thought this little picture would just be different to the usual blue sky and white fluffy clouds. I hope you give this one a try. If you'd like to start off with the initial line drawing, I'll put that up on my website for you, and I'll put a link to that in the description below this video. If you haven't done so already, then do consider clicking that subscribe button and the little bell icon, because that will let you know when I upload another video for you. If you've enjoyed this one, then give it a thumbs up. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Remember, there is an artist in everyone. Goodbye for now.